I know you can't see this, but you know,
Yeah.
I feel it.
Thanks. It's
It's hard.
yeah.
Sounds like it's really, really hard.
I don't want to say goodbye, man. You know, like you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's definitely the denial stage. Definitely denial. Um. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Very epic. Before we get into things, just kind of look around the world a bit and just, why is this your favorite world?
It's definitely one of my favorites. Again, mainly because Attack on Titan has been kind of like my go-to anime recently, especially with it wrapping up in the final season.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 of the final season coming out next winter. The manga just wrapped up, so I'm just kind of like on that high right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Gotta get that sweet dopamine.
Right?
Attack on Titan. Okay, so you really like anime a lot. It's sentimental, entertaining, and definitely some nice scenery
Yeah.
going on here.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you can never go wrong with an ocean or a beach or anything.
Yeah, gotta get that sunshine, taste the sun. All right.
I mean, vitamin D is good for the soul.
Oh, it definitely is. Not too much though. You don't want to be turning orange though.
No, no, not at all.
Okay. You don't have to give your exact name, obviously, but what would you like everyone to know you as, or like what would you like to be called?
What I'd like to be called, just like as a nickname throughout this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um. Uh. I guess. Man, I'm really bad at picking names for myself. Uh. How about Ace?
Ace. Yeah, kind of matches the Avatar spacesuit. I like it.
You
All
know.
right. Like what is the age range that you fall in?
Age between 30 to 35.
Okay. Where were you born, and where do you currently live?
Born in New York, grew up most of my life in Pennsylvania. Now reside in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's kind of starting to make sense a little bit. You got the big vocal cords, so maybe that kind of came from New York a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Growing up in the Italian family.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just quick question on that. Like, what was that like? Was it how you got the 24 people in your family?
Yeah, big family. There was 5 of us. I did have another sister. Unfortunately, she passed before I was born, so there would have been 6 of us. But yeah, there was
Mm.
5 of us, and then like I have all my cousins on my Italian side. They're just a ton of extended family on my dad's side.
You obviously speak English, but do you know any other languages, or are there some that you're interested in getting to know or to learn?
I took Spanish and I was horrible at it. So I know a little bit, but mainly just enough to, maybe take Spanish 101 again. But other than that, I think the language that I'd like to learn would probably be Japanese, but you just have to, dedicate time and energy to that.
Oh man, such a popular answer. Dang. Here we go. So, gonna ask the heavy hitter question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ace. What's your favorite color? Ooh.
Ooh, good question. I like a deep foresty green.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the mountains off to the far out there, like that kind of a green.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised you didn't pick green for your your suit there.
Yeah, yeah. I felt purple was a good mood today.
And for the actual slapping question, what brings you to be at your best self? So, what brings you to be your best?
Definitely my dog. He definitely is a good rock for me. He's a good boy right now, laying next to me.
Oh, good, he's back.
And then of course, yeah, I got him back thankfully. Um, uh, then my family, definitely, and then my friends. They're all pretty big, rocks in my life that help me be the best version of me that I can be.
So, on a scale of 0 to 10, how truthful are you with yourself? 0 being I lie to myself all the time, 10 being I never lie to myself.
I'm pretty truthful with how I am. Now, lying to others, I tend to stretch the truth a little bit, but for myself, I want to say anywhere between like 8 to 9, I feel.
Okay.
And
So
for others, it'd probably be like a 5 to a not 5, like a 7 to an 8.
Okay. So you're, a little bit more so like things are going on and something might need to be done, and somebody asks you how you're doing or what's going on, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine," or "I'm struggling a little lot." You kind of just glaze over
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Anything that comes to mind that you like to talk about, go for it.
So I definitely, the last few months have definitely been kind of a lot to really unpack. Um, it started with something that was kind of good in January with the divorce. My divorce was finalized after a year and a few months of separation. And then so that was kind of good because I was able to put an end to that chapter, lay it to sleep. But then of course you go back out into, as a 30-something-year-old divorced man in the dating world where COVID still has things locked down, so it's just like it sucks. So the dating world is pretty toxic. But the major thing that kind of happened was my father passing away in February. And haven't really felt the same since then.
It sounds like that's really heavy and hard to deal with because of like a bunch of things that are kind of compounding together. Kind of like life's throwing like every brick it can into your backpack.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, what would you like to start with first?
I guess start with my father's passing. So
okay, so I say for this just as much as you feel comfortable with, just sort of talk about anything that you see fit or that might be helpful. So this is a loss, grieving, and like what that process has been like for you. You could use those as examples.
Yeah. So, it was something that, uh, at least for the past year, because he's been struggling with a lot of health issues. I won't go into detail, but essentially he's been struggling with some health issues. In the back of my mind, it was always just like, okay, there's always this chance that something could happen. Like there was always that in the back of my mind lingering. Hey, worst case scenario, this is it.
Mm.
Um, so I was always kind of like trying to prepare myself mentally for that, but I don't think I did it, that good of a job. I don't think anybody really can do that good of a job.
Right.
Um, but the health issues came, and unfortunately, they complicated a lot of things. And unfortunately, time just wasn't on his side, and he ended up, passing in his sleep.
Mm.
So, you know, it's been difficult to just process it because it's just like,
He's gone.
yeah, he's gone. Like I can't hear his voice or ask him his advice or joke around with him about something or you
Mm.
know it's just rough. It no amount of preparation can really help you for that next step. Like and a lot of people, they lose, their grandparents or somebody or um an aunt and uncle, and that in and of itself is definitely hard. It's especially hard if one of them was the ones who raised you, so that's why it's really hard losing my dad, because he was there and he taught me so much when I was a kid. And now, like, I still went to him now because they still, parents still teach you stuff even when you're a functioning adult. But at the same time, you go to them and you ask them, hey, how do I haggle this guy down for this car price? Like, how do I, what should I say to talk to him? You bought cars plenty of times throughout your life. How do I, haggle a little bit, So it's just, yeah, it's a little rough. Because my birthday was a month after he passed, and not being able to hear his voice really hurt.
So not hearing Dad say "Happy birthday, son."
Yeah,
Mm.
that really hurt.
Mm. One question that came to mind is, well, you said your dad's been there for you. What's the rest of your family like? Are they supportive, distant, or neutral?
I mean, it's more or less the same. More supportive. Obviously, everybody has been of each other. It's definitely weighing on my mom a lot. And that's the thing too. She lost her husband. They were in bed together, and she woke up in the morning and tried to get him up, but he wasn't moving. So I mean, she woke up to her husband dead. So I mean, she's definitely grieving. She's definitely still processing everything. She's doing a good job of it. I think she's also hiding it a little bit, trying to be a little, show a little more strength because she needs to for the kids, Um, but we've all been supportive of each other and helping around, getting rid of stuff, and um, by getting rid of stuff, I mean you gotta clean out the closet, you have to clean out the clothes, you have to clean out the office that he used to work in. So it's just a lot of, process of kind of organizing and shrinking down a little bit and making sure the bills still get paid because, you still got mom's still got to pay the bills. It's just, dad's not there to help with that. So I've been kind of doing that myself with my mom is I've been helping making sure we know where all the money's going, making sure we know where all the bills are going, what bills are being paid, making sure they're paid on time, the normal stuff. So no big funeral or anything because my mom and dad didn't want to do that. They just said if worst happened when my dad was alive, worst thing to happen, my dad was just like just cremation. That's all. We don't need to have a big funeral or anything because COVID and having the extended family travel, especially when they're in more state and they're in more they're in states that are more locked down, so it'd make it a little bit hard, to do that. So yeah, it's just been, you know, it we're all doing our best to be supportive and not argue and not, get on each other's nerves as much, which I mean, no, every family does, everybody has a family member who just gets on your nerves, but it's definitely a little bit more, you need a little bit more patience, Um, but yeah, I definitely think my mom's been handling it pretty well, but I think she's, feeling it very, very much so.
Mhm. Okay. Definitely sounds like so not only has it been heavy like on an emotional level, but it's also, required more energy to, take care of the, typical after death tasks, legal, financial, and just rebuilding your lives
Yeah.
so that, you know, it's not so like rebuilding your life so that you aren't constantly reminded, that he's gone. So, taking
Yeah.
care of all of his possessions and sort of relocating and just from what it sounds like, it's just been a lot, and also kind of hearing that for everybody they just haven't really had enough time to fully process it, and it's ongoing.
Yeah. And you know, Easter just, was recently too, so it kind of, it hit me hard for my birthday because my birthday was a month afterwards. My sister's, hers was a month before, my brother's is later this month, but like my birthday, so like it kind of hit me then, first because that was like the first major event for me since he passed. And Easter was kind of the first major event for, my sister or my brother, because, you know, that was the first holiday that, dad wasn't around.
Right. Okay. So you had an event earlier than they did, because you had that reminder that he was a part of all of your birthdays, and while it wasn't their birthday, their first thing that came along was, oh, I was gonna see Dad at Easter usually, but not this time.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm.
I'm not going to speak to how they're doing or anything like that because, of course, you got to talk to them. But I know they're, you know, everyone's taking it, and everyone's just trying to feel it. It's something that lingers. It's something that will last with you for a while, and that's one thing that I've always been told is like that first year that you know he's not there is going to be the hardest one because that's when you realize he's not there. You go through all the major holidays and you don't see him, you don't talk to him, he doesn't call you for your birthday, you don't hear his voice, you don't see him, smiling or laughing or anything like that. Or, in an Italian household, you don't hear him screaming for the food, or not for the food, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't, it's a loud family. Italians, we have two volumes. We have indoor voice and then outdoor voice, and sometimes the outdoor voice comes inside. So,
I thought
how it is.
I thought you were about to say it's like, okay, we have indoor voice, and outdoor voice number 2.
I mean, you could say that. Outdoor voice number 2 is indoors, but you're using your outdoor voice,
With people who've lost someone, sometimes they might talk about, the good times, or the good memories, to just sort of put things in a more positive life, like, the not to remember how he passed, but how he lived. And I think it would be maybe interesting or helpful to maybe talk about that if you want to.
Obviously, with him passing, we felt like the best way to kind of get the news out. Obviously, you tell the family first. So my mom called me the day it happened. My brother lives with my mom and helps around the house, so he knew, obviously. My sister was called and told. And then, we tell the rest of the family, the extended family, all the other Italians, all the other Irish on my mom's side. So, we just let everybody know, because, you want to make sure family knows first before you publicly go and announcing it to everybody else. So we told everybody, and we kind of just dealt with it that week, and just kind of was like, dealing with it internally as a family and being supportive and everything like that. Then, my dad had a Facebook page, and so what we decided to do was I went onto his Facebook and posted as myself, just saying, hey, this is, Ace. My father ended up passing away this past Monday in his sleep. He's survived by his family, so on and so forth. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here,
Right.
but so one thing my mom said to me is like, she didn't want, because my boss, when I told my boss was just like, what's your mom's address? I want to send her some flowers, because that's usually what people do when they want to show, hey, we're sorry for your loss. They send flowers. So I told my mom that, and she said, don't give her the address. If she wants to send anything, she can make a donation to this organization that my dad was in love with. So I told my boss that, and so that's one thing we did on Facebook, was we linked to that organization, so that if somebody wanted to make a donation, they can go ahead and make a donation in my father's name, as a way to kind of pay respects to him.
What was this organization called?
I believe Tunnel to Towers, or Towers to Tunnel. I think it's Tunnel to Towers.
Well, so what's it about?
I believe, and this is just because I'm having a brain moment right now, but I'm pretty sure it's about helping paraplegics have kind of like a normal life, helping them find housing or build housing for them, stuff like that. So it was a cause my dad ended up falling in love with the last year of his life, because, again, with all the major issues that he had, he ended up becoming a paraplegic in a wheelchair. So that was one of the major feelings he had towards his end of his life, was falling in love with that foundation. So The good stuff. So, with posting that message on Facebook, it allowed a lot of people to kind of open up and post their memories, and it was kind of it's nice seeing how many people somebody touched in their lives. So it was nice because I mean he's my father. I grew up with him. Of course, he touched my life. I can go over all the good things with him about how he helped me buy my first car, how he helped me negotiate for my second, how excited he was for when I was getting married, and how you know I don't know a good word here for the divorce, but he I think he was definitely supportive of me. There we go. Supportive of me in getting the divorce. So obviously I have all those feelings that I can go to, but it was kind of nice to see all the different people that he touched, all the people that he grew up with, that he knew from New York, that he knew, going to school with, and jobs and stuff like that, and them sharing their stories with us through the Facebook post. It was nice because you get to see you know you got to see your father through the eyes of other people, and you don't really get to see that too often. A lot of it was just how nice he always was, and how he was always able to help out with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my dog repositioned himself to be right underneath my feet now for some reason.
I think he can tell you're feeling.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows.
He knows it all too well.
What kind of dog is he?
He's an English cream golden retriever. So he's not like the typical golden, and he's not like the Auburn golden retrievers, but he's a English cream, which means he's kind of more of a white, creamy colored.
Mm-hmm. So he's a big fluffy.
Yep, big fluffer ball, and he's big, all right. He just turned 2 in January, and he's like 90 pounds, so he's a big dog. No, he doesn't run away with the vacuum, which is surprising, but he'll run away from the grocery bags.
What? I've never heard of that. What the heck?
Yeah. I'll bring groceries home, and he'll obviously come and greet me, and then he'll see me with the grocery bags, and he'll just take off and run away. Later on this year in 2021, obviously you're going to be feeling a lot more, because it's like, what do you do for Thanksgiving? Christmas, New Year's is usually you go and you visit your family, and you have these big dinners. And at least for me, being a New Yorker, it's like you get all the food and all this other stuff. And he was always a big eater, my dad. So for Christmas, he'd always try to get a lot of seafood and stuff to kind of have a big, seafood Christmas dinner and everything. And most families did like the turkey and stuff.
Right.
For my father, he loved doing, the turducken. I don't know if you ever heard of the turducken.
I heard of the word. I don't know why it makes me think of a goose, but
Almost, yeah. It's a chicken stuffed in a duck stuffed in a turkey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the giant bird. So I don't know if I want to use that. But yeah, it's always it was always a big meal, and that's one thing I'm gonna miss when it comes to Thanksgiving. I've missed it a few times already this past year. The past couple years, because again, 2020 was COVID, and then this year, he's not going to be there. So it was just like, it's just one of those things where it was just rough. It's going to be rough when it comes to Thanksgiving. Don't mind my hand.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh man, you're really excited about this conversation with caressing your nipple a little bit there.
It's definitely going to be, hard around those holidays because food, and we're not going to be getting that much because he's not going to be here. And so, and we weren't really, wasteful before anybody starts thinking that. It all went to, we all ate it. It's just,
Nothing was left behind.
Yeah. And if any was, we always saved it and obviously eat it, leftover. But yeah. So it's gonna be rough once the holidays come again, though.
Yeah,
It literally feels like with COVID they were just here, but
right. And you've touched a lot on just kind of how it's kind of impacted your life. And I'm trying to pace out these questions here. So I'd say the next one would be, so like what if you haven't said it already, what challenges has his passing created for, you especially, and then everyone else?
um, not having his presence around definitely is definitely felt. It's definitely missed. So it's definitely kind of given me kind of like a block, like some sort of, I don't know, like a mental block or even like a writer's block, you can say. Um, it's definitely kind of, you know, I'm moving forward, but kind of at a snail's pace. And I know there's no way to really kind of speed that up because everyone grieves differently. But
Right.
I definitely noticed that I'm just kind of holding on a little too much. I feel, it's definitely hard just to kind of let it let go.
Hmm. What are you holding on to?
I don't know. I mean, it's. I want to say regrets, and not like in the sense of, oh, I should have told him, I loved him more or anything like that. I know every time we talked, I know I always told him I loved him, and especially towards the end, I told him how proud I was and everything. It's just one of those things where it's just like, it just happened right after the Super Bowl. I figured I'd call throughout the week and speak to him about the Super Bowl and stuff like that, and how much we hate Tom Brady and everything else. But it was just one of those things where it was just like I didn't get a chance to really, you know, you, you don't know when it happens, when death happens, you don't really get a chance to say goodbye.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like the survivor's guilt of not having that opportunity to, just to come terms with it and just be able to say goodbye. So I haven't really been able to let that go. I haven't really been able to move on from that. That I can't say goodbye. I can't tell him that I love him one more time.
Well,
And
so Ace, I've seen people try this before, and it, may or may not help. And you totally don't have to do it if you don't want to, but you could pretend that, either me or, maybe you just sort of imagine him standing right here, and maybe you give it a shot of saying what you would have liked to say to him before he passed.
yeah, and maybe it's I don't know. I don't know. I
You,
don't know if
you
I would feel comfortable right now. You know what I mean?
right. So I just wanted to suggest it, and because again, we can edit this
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But it's something that kind of lets things out, and you talked about letting go, and I thought maybe we could try it, even just a little bit, one step at a time.
Yeah. And like, I know I probably should. I know that like it it's also kind of like I don't know if I want to let it go, even though I know I need to. I need to be able to just say goodbye, but still, like, it's just, you know, it kind of hurts knowing that I have to do that.
Right.
Knowing that I have to say bye.
I know you can't see this, but
Yeah.
I feel it.
Thanks. It's
It's hard.
yeah.
Sounds like it's really, really hard.
I don't want to say goodbye, man. Like, you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's definitely the denial stage. Definitely denial. Um. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I can say is, maybe we aren't, you won't be able to do it today, but there will be a time when you are ready. And even just acknowledging that you're not ready is one hell of a big step, as is.
Yeah.
And I'm myself, and I'm sure everyone who, might end up watching is proud of you for doing that.
Yeah. I'm just taking a tissue right now and just making sure I don't fog up my glasses or the VRChat real quick.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. And I know I'll be there one day too. I'll be able to say, but you don't really want to admit it. You don't want to just, you know, as much as you have to, because you have to be able to move forward. You have to be able to keep going. It's almost like not wanting to, because once you actually do, you know, it.
That's it.
Yeah, there's no turning back. There, and I know there's like no turning back now. Obviously, there's nothing. Me holding on to this isn't going to bring him back. Me, not being ready isn't going to bring him back. But like, I still have him a little bit, and I think that's letting go of that is what's the hardest thing. Is if I don't let go, I don't have to worry about losing him. But at the same time, he's already gone.
Mm.
So yeah, so he's already lost. He's already moved on. You know.
Well, you're doing great. You're doing what you need to. You're taking care of the affairs. You're supporting each other. You guys are doing really well.
So this is kind of like the first time really kind of talking about it. I kind of been keeping it because I just don't want to really talk about it. Because again, that's letting go a little bit of him. Because I'm actually like the whole lying question, like at 0 out of 10, how much do you think you're lying to yourself? Like, I'm pretty honest with myself. So that's why, like I said, I'm like an 8 or 9, where I know I'm lying to myself when I say that if I just hold on to it, I don't have to say goodbye. And I know that's a lie.
Mhm.
But, I still do it because I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. And it's okay to not be ready. I see you wiggling your. I know you don't have full body, but like I imagine like you're wiggling your feet and like your dog's like right beneath you. You know.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
You Well, I mean, obviously we're both gamers, right? But like, what was your first systems that you kind of latched onto?
Obviously Nintendo. I think that's going to be everyone's kind of go-to, at least in my age demographic. For the younger generation, are going to be
Oh,
Xbox or
you mean
PlayStation.
you weren't part of the Pong, all the rage of mm, mm, you know.
Uh, a little bit, but latched on to definitely Nintendo and Sega. Sega was a good close second,
Mhm.
but used to have a old school NES system, and then got the Genesis, and then got we didn't get the Super NES. We got the N64 after that, and then it was just like Nintendo all the way. So
Mhm. What was your, you know, I don't know why, just because kind of like looking at the ocean here, it just reminds me of a lot of games. Like, what was your favorite or favorites?
always always been a fan of the Zelda games. Obviously, I think that's like every guy's answer is Zelda. I kind of
Guy,
feel like that's
dude, it's 2021,
yeah,
man. It's
yeah, that's
everybody's.
every yeah, true. Um, Obviously Zelda and any Mario. Sonic was a big game that I played when I was a younger. Um, as far as now that I'm older, obviously I still play video games, and obviously VRChat, Destiny 2, Halo, Mass Effect. So my taste has kind of grown a little bit. I still have have a love for all those other games. I still play Pokemon because I grew up on Pokemon.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, Sonic, Metroid.
Oh yeah,
The classics.
right. Do you have other things that you dealt with in the past or that you're also going through now that you also want to talk about?
Um, it's mainly just been the death of my father that's just kind of been impacting me the most lately. Like, I
Mhm.
think that's kind of been more of the I kind of maybe like the snowball effect. It's kind of just that kind of impacting more on other things that don't really that or that aren't really as you know
Important.
major as that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously nothing else can really compare to losing a loved one.
Hmm.
But it definitely impacts other aspects of my life and makes them kind of a little bit more daunting when they really aren't. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely recognizing that a lot. Um, in the fact that, like, I'm recognizing, okay, well, there's obviously a lot of stuff going on in this world with COVID and lockdowns, and obviously dating as a divorced man, and everything. You know, it was kind of just like this was kind of like this was the biggest, you know, event that I've had happen to me, and you know, it's just it kind of puts an accent on those other ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you didn't realize, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you didn't realize how, minor those things were until you had the most important thing happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely been just trying to process that and make sure that I'm trying to take the right mental steps to better myself and to grow from it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, glad to, talk with you about it, and sounds like you know what the next steps are, and just take them, at your own pace. You did
Yeah.
mention, the divorce a couple times, and I don't think anyone, not yet, no one yet has sort of talked about a marriage of any kind. So I think that would be really good to go into, and maybe it might help to sort of maybe let some things go in that area too. I don't know if you're still holding on to something there.
I think like the only thing really kind of from the marriage that impacts me now is, or the divorce, is that I do wish I had somebody to help me go through this. Like, I do kind of wish I had that support of a wife with
Mm-hmm.
me, you know, so that way I can grieve with them, I can be with them, I can be held by somebody other than my family. Um, you know, because it's that connection that kind of sucks, is like not having that. But
Right.
other than that, like, you know, we've talked throughout the year about my divorce a few times. Um, other than that, like, it was a good thing for me. Unfortunately, and I say that unfortunately because it still had to happen, and it's, you know, unfortunate because it still hurts both
Right.
parties. But it was something that I had to do because there was a lot of stuff that I was ignoring that I shouldn't have been ignoring, and I needed to bring those up, but it wasn't a healthy relationship for me to bring those up in a healthy manner without having a fight or without having, you know, somebody break down or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Sounds
So,
like just just based off of that, sounds like there's you guys ran into some bumps in the road, and you tried to communicate about it, but communicating about it sort of led to arguments and just unhealthy conversations and
habits and
behaviors.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, so
exactly.
so let so I'd say one thing that I've seen to be helpful for people is if you kind of do like a little bit of a timeline, and when things were good, and what kind of happened when things sort of took a turn. So would you feel comfortable kind of going through that timeline?
Yeah, I can kind of go through that. So, you know, obviously, boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, boy pursues girl. You know, you can have all that stuff. But you know, when we started dating, it was very good. Like everybody is, it's that honeymoon phase, as some people call it. I couldn't do the quotation mark, but that
Yeah.
honeymoon phase. Yeah,
It
honeymoon. But you know, so you went through that, and so everything's good. Looking back at it, I did notice there was a lot of red flags that I chose to ignore because my mentality during that was I'm in love, she's in love. You know, I gotta make it work. Let's make it work. It's not that big of a deal because we're both happy. So why bring up red flags, you know, when you're both happy? So,
right.
um, you know, looking back at it, you know, we dated for 2 to 3 years. got married, and only stayed married for a year before getting divorced.
Mm.
And you know, it the marriage more just kind of brought everything to light because you're with a person. Like you're married. There's no hiding anything. There's no hiding feelings or emotions or um, you're living together. Everything is out on the table. So it's just like it emphasized all the issues that I was having in the relationship and kind of brought them all more to light. And so I tried to deal with it in an appropriate manner by bringing it up like, hey, I want to talk about this. And it so happened to be something that would be triggering for her. I want to talk about this other thing. It was triggering for her. So everything, that I wanted to try to talk about was triggering to her. So unfortunately, I couldn't. I said to myself, I'm like, I can't be with somebody that I can't have a conversation with, whether it's about financials, whether it's about the house, whether it's about the puppy, whether it was about the kitty, whether it was about, not to get too personal, but bedroom stuff or the dishes or whatever. Like, if it was something that the groceries, I couldn't talk about it because it was triggering. And that hurt me because I was trying to be a good husband by bringing stuff that was bothering me to the table, saying, "Hey, I want to work on this stuff," but it wasn't being reciprocated. It was being shot down. It was being, not trying to get into too much details, but it was just basically triggering stuff, and it wasn't healthy. And I was saying to myself, well, I'm unhappy because I'm burying all this stuff because I kind of have to because I'm walking on eggshells. And that was 6 months into the marriage, and so for the last 6 months, I just kind of let all that stuff kind of pile up inside of me, and then I just said, okay, I'm unhappy. I don't know what to do, so I went to therapy, and I talked it over with my therapist. And I told my therapist all the issues, told my therapist all the stuff that was going on. And, my therapist basically said it sounds like there's only one option for you, or else you're just going to keep going crazy, which could lead down a darker, more destructive path. Right. So, I processed that. We talked about it more for a few sessions. And I realized I at least need, because North Carolina, you have to have a year of separation first before you can file for divorce. It's, the Bible Belt. So, they want you to try to work things out first for that year. So, legally, that's what, that's what I wanted to do was just, I didn't even want to try to talk about divorce. I just wanted to talk about separation. You have your space, me have my space. We'll still, talk to each other. We'll go out on dates, but we won't be around each other all the time. We can, hopefully help repair this situation that we have. But when I talked about it with her, it was either divorce or marriage. There was no in between. There was no separation. Nothing. It's, if I want to work on this, we continue to see each other on a daily basis, so on and so forth. Whereas I just wanted a little bit of space so I could reacclimate myself, rebuild the structures, work on repairing the columns, and making sure that I'm not going to crumble under pressure. Whereas she was wanting that to happen while we were still in the same house, and I was just like, I can't do that because being around you made me feel at unease. Because I wasn't able to be myself. I lost who I was because I was around you so much. I need to be who I am, and you need to be able to allow me to be myself. But that couldn't happen. So um, it was that ultimatum of either we're married and we stay married, or we're getting divorced. There's no separation. There's no working on each other. There's marriage or divorce. And I said, if that's what you're giving me, then I'm just going to take divorce. And so later on, I think about maybe 2 weeks after that conversation, she left. She took, you know, overnight clothes and packed up a suitcase for a week or so. Took her cat. She left the dog, obviously, because the dog was more mine than it was hers. So, and I would fight for that dog. So I John Wick before I would go John Wick before anything like that. So and he knows it too. He's right next to me saying,
Who's
"Hey,
a good
pet me, pet me."
boy?
So he's a good puppy. But yeah, so it was just she took some essentials. She took her cat, went down to her mom's, and talked it over with her mom and said that she's going to be coming up a week or two later to get everything else of hers. Dishes, the couches, anything that was her property she was going to get. And I was like, that's fine. And she was wanting, excuse me, he's crossing my cables now. Good boy, but you're crossing
No,
my
don't cross the
cables.
beams.
But so she wanted to do it while I was at work. Didn't want to do it on the weekend when we were both be free. And I said, "You're not doing it unless I'm there." And so she said, "Okay." She gave me a date. I took off a day of work for that. I requested that day off. So she came up here. I helped her move everything of hers out of the house. So timeline wise, that was about a year and 3 months into our marriage. Again, dating 2.5 years before that. So we were together for almost, I want to say almost 4 years. Definitely close to it, but so she moved out in November 2019, and obviously, 4 5 months later, the world closed. So that made kind of going through divorce an interesting, process, because again, you have to be separated for that 1 year. And so that 1 year came and went. And then her lawyers filed for divorce. I was able to buy her off the home, so now the home's in my name. So I'm still living in the house, thankfully, because I didn't want to move, being that I have a big dog and I have a backyard and all this other stuff that would be better for him than an apartment or anything,
Right.
So, but yeah. So 2020 November, that her lawyer filed for divorce. The court couldn't see us until January 2021, and that's when I went to the courtroom. Had no objections to the divorce, and that's when it was granted. And so January 4th, 2021 was when the divorce was granted. And then I got the papers like a week or two after that. So I think I got the papers right when I got the stimulus check too. So it was like, here's the divorce papers, but then here's also the second stimulus check. So I'm just like, oh, okay, So, but and then I did try to talk to her a little bit afterwards, just to kind of, update her on my family, because I know her aunt loved my dad. So when my dad passed, I did shoot her a message saying, "Hey, my dad passed. I just thought you should know. Your aunt may want to know, in case you guys want to say any prayers." unfortunately, or fortunately, she pretty much blocked me on all social media and probably even blocked my cell phone.
Hmm.
So who knows if she actually got the message or not.
Oh.
But she blocked me probably when the divorce was finalized. As soon as she got the divorce papers, she probably went and blocked me on everything, which I get it. I don't really fault her for that because, you know,
Well,
I don't think she really wanted.
people love the. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I'm saying people love to do the blackout method. So I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. Just nothing, nothing, nothing. Blackout.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, I get it too. Like some people have that. Some people use that as a coping mechanism. It's the way for them to deal with trauma or with pain or with depression. And I get that. So again, I'm not faulting her. But
Hmm.
to each their own. You know what I mean?
So you were in love, and you ignored the signs, and you tried to talk
Ignored
about.
the red flags.
Yeah, yeah. So ignored the red flags, and once you guys got married, there was really no brushing those aside anymore. They became very, very large and visible, and this started to add enough pressure to where you're like, okay, we got to talk about this. We really got to talk about this, and kept getting shot down every time, and then one thing leads to another. It's too much. You're unhappy. You're done, and then the divorce happens. So all in all,
Yeah.
just no communication, and you know sounds like very futile attempts to sort of work it out, and
Yeah.
just kind of one-sided. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to ask her, obviously she has her side. She may say stuff like, I didn't want to work on things, because I was going to therapy. I went to her therapist with her. Then we went to a marriage counselor, and at that point, I was talking to so many therapists. Being that I was talking to three,
God
but
damn.
I was talking to so many. I was just like, okay, I'm kind of therapied out. I kind of just want to have just, I kind of just need the separation. Like, I just need to be able to focus on myself for at least a few months. Maybe two top, just to be able to be on my own, relax, decompress, and be able to talk. But like according to her, if you were to ask her, she'd probably say something like, "Oh, I didn't try to go to therapy with her. I only went to therapy for myself, not for the marriage. I didn't love her unconditionally. All this other stuff. She'll say all that stuff, but in reality, it's just like,
uh,
well, I did because I gave you everything you wanted, but I wasn't getting anything in return.
oh man. Well,
You know,
that's a
I
subject on it. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I'll just say, when you said
yeah,
love her unconditionally, it's like, what
yeah.
is that? What is unconditional love? You're two adults, and here one is trying to communicate and work things out, and you know what what do you think about that as far as unconditional love goes?
Unconditional love, like, I think it exists, but not to the point where we can really kind of understand it. Like, I feel like unconditional love, you love them for all their faults and everything like that. Um, However, you still see that those faults are there. You still accept them for those faults. Um, so like unconditional love to me is being able to see this person for who they are. They're the beautiful person that they are, the beautiful, human being they are, but also realizing they have faults, they have quirks, they have things about them that are quote unquote wrong, even though it's not really, wrong. Everyone is perfect in their own way, but I mean, like, you see their imperfections, you see their securities and insecurities, and loving them for that. um I think to her it was love the same thing, but also I don't know, like I feel like you can unconditionally love somebody and wish them the best in life and not be a part of their life. You know what I mean? Um, I think for her, unconditional love was, and I don't know, because again, I'm not gonna speak to her feelings or anything, but maybe unconditional love to her was borderline, um, pedestal. You know, like you put somebody up on a pedestal. You know, so I kind of feel like that's kind of what she felt like it was. And maybe that's what she wanted from me was to put her on a pedestal. I don't know. You know,
So let
probably
me.
not. I don't know many people who want that, but yeah.
So what I kind of was conceptualizing as you're talking about that is she wanted some kind of an out to not be at fault for the things that she was truly responsible for. Faults are, everybody has things that they may need to work on, big or small. Some people may have worked through almost, everything and may be like a very nice person to be around. But in this case, sounds like that, you knew that there's, a few things that she definitely needed to work on, and you're willing to accept her during this time. But as most people sort of talk about, it's kind of our responsibility to try and be better, each and every day. And it sounds like she was using that unconditional love to avoid, you know, becoming better, and she would guilt you for it so that she, even as you said, could be on that pedestal where she was not responsible for some of the things that she was doing, because you should love her unconditionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. Like, and then that's kind of what I like was saying to her is like I felt like I was just enabling. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I was enabling these bad traits in her to flourish because she knew she had issues that she was trying to work on and she, wanted to work on them. But being with her all the time, she wasn't working on them as much as she could have been. She wasn't going to therapy once a month at least, because when we first started dating, she was doing that. She was going to therapy at least like once or twice a month, but when she changed jobs and career path, her insurance would only cover once every 3 to 4 months a therapy session. So she stopped going once a month or twice a month to once, 3 months, once a quarter. And not everybody can transition to that properly. Not everybody can do that. Some people need to be able to work on themselves more with a therapist than not, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um and that could also be out of her money range or her financial situation obviously. Because her insurance did change and so I'm not blaming her necessarily for that, but at the same time like I was enabling that and I didn't push her to get better because I didn't want to be a pushy husband. I didn't want to be the husband saying, "Hey, I think you may need more therapy because I don't you're not the same from when we were dating and you were getting therapy, you
Mm-hmm.
know." And obviously when you throw medication into it, that can just go, medication isn't a perfect science,
Right.
especially with mental health. So throw that on top of everything else. So yeah,
Okay. Well, I feel like that really encapsulates or just covers, the whole, um, you know, uh, marriage experience, and sort of, what can happen when two people don't, actively communicate together, and as well as, other
yeah,
helpful details that you shared.
if there's a red flag in your relationship, don't be afraid to talk about it, Like, that's one thing that I'm bringing to my next relationship. That's one thing that I've done in dating women is I've talked to them about what I want and what I don't want. And, I've brought up, hey, I want, I like certain things, not in like a, anything weird, but it's just like, what I'm looking for is this, this, and this. If you're looking for that too, great. Let's get to know each other and talk a bit to each other, But I've been trying in any kind of relationship after that to bring up red flags and just be like, okay, listen, like, this is a cause of concern for me. Let's talk about it and see if we can work through it together, And that's definitely one thing I would recommend to anybody else is just if you see a red flag, don't ignore it because you're in love. Talk about it.
The sooner you talk about it, the sooner you know if the person you're with is truly, a good fit for you or not. Because as we sort of found out through this marriage and eventual divorce, ignoring the red flags was not helpful, and it led to, well, just a rough couple years, to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just be open and honest with the person that you're with.
Anything else that you would, kind of like to talk about or cover, whether current problems or past problems?
I mean, not really. I mean, opening up about my father's death a little bit and then dealing with those emotions helped a lot. So that's obviously something I definitely need to focus on and work through, at my own pace, obviously. Sometimes, I will, eventually I will need to make sure I challenge myself to be able to let go. Um, and the divorce thing, that was kind of more of a minor thing, but, again, it was accented by my father's death. Oh, I'm divorced now. I don't have the wife to go to hug and to hold and to let go of my feelings with. Instead, I have to find a way for me to process that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I don't really think there's anything else. I think that was really just kind of how my 2021's going. 2020 was a lot easier. Let me tell you that.
Okay, well, I think it's safe to say, you already know goals and ways to move forward with your father's passing. And then as for the divorce, that kind of ties into like, future relationships. And you also said that as well with, making sure that you look for the red flags. And if there's something there that you immediately talk about it. And, this time there's kind of no exceptions. Like, if they're not willing to talk about it, then that's basically like saying they're not willing to be in your life because it's something that you can't tolerate anymore.
Yeah, or at least even just acknowledge the fact that I have that red flag. That was another thing with the divorce was like, I have these issues, brush under the rug.
So we'll start with the divorce, because we want to talk about like what helped and what didn't. So when you were going through this divorce and overall this relationship, what helped the most? What helped you kind of get through this time?
Definitely having my dog with me. I credit him a lot with if I didn't have him, I don't know what 2019 would have looked like because I ended up getting him in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been interesting to see how that would have happened because again, I got him about 6 months after we were married. So I got him at that turning point of, okay, I'm starting to kind of feel down. I'm starting to feel like I can't function well in this relationship. So he was definitely a major plus for me, helping me, deal with my emotions. And I knew I had to keep fighting for what I felt I needed to talk about in order to make sure that I can give him a good life, because obviously want to be in his life because I am his life. Dogs are on this world a lot less than us, so I mean, we are their life. So I want to make sure I'm the happiest I can be for him so that he can be the happiest he can be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm petting right now.
Yeah, I could tell. Who's a good boy? Don't worry, he'll feel it in spirit.
Oh yeah, he does.
So, on the flip side of the coin, what things made it worse?
Made the divorce worse?
Well, yeah, well, I'd say like in general. So like yeah. So you could talk about the marriage and the divorce. Just general things that made this time worse. What did not help?
Just not being able to talk about how I was feeling, not being able to have an outlet with her. You're married to the person. That person should be your best friend who listens to all your issues and everything. But when you have an issue and it's something that they don't want to deal with or they don't like, that's kind of a big red flag. And it's just like, well, what the heck? I'm trying to, you know, be honest with you, and I can't because you're not reciprocating that or you're not accepting that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, so not being able to actually have somebody to be the supportive cheerleader, um, definitely kind of hurt. And I obviously would like have that in my next relationship, but yeah, not being able to have an outlet for that. Eventually went to therapy, and that was my outlet, and I was able to, share all my thoughts and feelings with the therapist, which was good. Um, but it's still like
Not enough.
I wasn't being tolerated. I wasn't being accepted for my feelings or
Mm.
for how I felt. She would do certain things that hurt, and I don't know why she did those things. I'm not going to go into details, but she did certain things, and I didn't find out about them until a week or two or three later, and it's just like, well, why didn't you have a conversation with me? Like, I just felt like it wasn't an open and honest relationship. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the hardest part, is realizing, the person that I said my vows to in front of all my friends and family, in front of all her friends and family, wasn't the person that I was coming home to after work, wasn't the person that I adopted the dog with, it wasn't the person that I wasn't able, it wasn't the same person.
Yeah. So with your dad's passing, you know, it could be the same thing technically. So like, what helped the most during this time? Was it the good boy?
Yes, it was definitely the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Definitely family, definitely friends. They've all been there and been supportive of me, and if I needed them, I could call them and talk to them with ease. Um, Definitely seeing all the memories people were sharing about my father on Facebook, that
Mm-hmm.
helped a lot. So that was all very helpful in that aspect of that event.
Mm-hmm. And also, what I imagine to be similar of what made it worse, what didn't help.
Just my birthday, not being able to hear his voice, just that reminder kind of, made it worse. Made me realize I have to, process it and work on it. Obviously the death itself is not good, I mean, but yeah, just that constant reminder that I won't be able to dial his number anymore.
Mm. Okay.
Listen to your heart, as cliche as that song is, listen to your heart. Make sure you know that you have feelings that you have to process, and you have to give yourself ample time to do so. You may need a jump start on processing those feelings, but don't bury them. Talk to somebody, talk to um, friends, to family, to your dog, to somebody, your neighbors, just open up and reach out to somebody and just, you know, never be afraid to admit that you may need help. You may need therapy, you know. Um, and, I don't know about medication, but if that's something that you think you would need, maybe go to therapy first and see what kind of medication they would recommend. But I would more say try to work it out and do it naturally and be able to, help yourself and definitely take care of who you are. Don't lose yourself.
Mm. Beautiful. Very well said. It's a little bit too warm to be here. You should get back to the North Pole.